Welcome to Live Into Your Best Life, a show where people learn how to go from where they are to where they'd like to be in any area of life. If you're looking for a new job, wanting to improve your relationships, or even reclaim your health, Skaya will share with you a simple formula that can take you on a journey to begin to live into your best life in all areas of life. Now sit back and begin your journey.
Hello, and welcome to Live Into Your Best Life. I'm Skaya, your show's host, and today I'm with Elizabeth Peak. So I met Elizabeth, about 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, networking. My husband introduced us, and the more that I get to know her and the more that I get to know about her, the more that I know there's to get to know. And it's really fun because she has layers of complexity and layers of fun, and her brain works in a really cool way, very similar to mine. And not many people do that, but her and I could just talk for hours and enjoy beverages and appetizers and talk for more hours. And we have. We have. That's why I know that works. Anyways, so because Elizabeth has so many passions, I'm not going to dive into them in the introduction. Instead, we're just going to let them emerge. But a couple of things that I want to make sure we talk about is your upbringing and whatever you want to share, because it's very fascinating, and how you were able to go from where you were to where you are and where you're headed is so important for our listeners to hear, because a lot of people don't know how to get out of this situation they're in. And you've just done that so beautifully. Also, you are brilliant at helping people find that authentic aspect of themselves, I think is how I'd like to. And I know you've been running a monthly event where folks get together, and it's so neat to see the threads of commonality every month in the groups. And we talked about this a few months ago when I was there, how what you're creating is like an extension of what I had built 20 years ago. And it's crazy because it was heartwarming to know that I was on track just a little ahead of my time. And now to see more and more people coming together, yes, it's time. So thank you for doing that. And so let's just chat. What if you were to have a nugget of inspiration to kick off what you want people to know about your life and how you create your best life? What would that be?
I think authenticity has a lot to do with having integrity with yourself and learning how to listen to your own intuition. So when you have a feeling like this doesn't feel right for me, or I'm not in a comfortable situation right now, or you recognize I'm not happy, listening to that. And instead of going, oh no, that's just because of this person makes me feel awkward, or oh, that's just because I've had a really hard childhood, or that's just because you can come up with all these different excuses for why you feel a certain way. But the truth is, you need to have integrity with yourself and listen to yourself. And just like you would a friend, just like you would if you were your own best friend, and you heard your friend talking, and you were sitting there going, she knows she's not in a good position right now. She knows she doesn't want to be here right now. She just needs to get out of it. And you would coach her, and you would give her inspiration to move out of that space into a new space. It might be scary, but heck, life is scary. It's all unknown. What do we do?
Exactly.
There's no sure. So you might as well live your life in a way that you can be proud of when you get to your last day, whenever that might be.
Yep, exactly. I love that. So I know you do photography, and you help people with their style, and you help businesses with their branding. And so how do you take that message of authenticity and integrity and bring that to life when you're working with your customers, your clients?
I think the first thing is just recognizing that all of the feelings are actually really important. And that's something that in past generations, I know my parents, they really like put them down. They basically said things like the way you feel doesn't matter. What matters is that you get the job done. And so, what a lot of people do is they chase success. And the way they chase success, it's funny, I shouldn't quite say it like that. They chase an idea of success that is not actually their own. They see other people succeeding and then they copy them. And we don't need that. Like, it's the reason why at this point in time, the big corporations, every single time you see these ads, every single time anything put out by these big corporations, you're just going, huh? Yeah, you're just trying to like milk my emotions. This isn't authentic. This doesn't come from a real person. This is half the time now, it's probably created by AI. We don't want that. And we know it. Like, as humans, we know it when we see it. We go, that doesn't feel anything I want in my life. Pay attention to that. You got to pay attention to that and not chase what looks like success, because it probably isn't. It's probably just a big corporation that has tons of money that's throwing money at a problem. And nobody wants that for their business, especially these small business owners that I usually work with. They want something that feels like them. They want something that they're proud of.
Something that feels real.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
In the world of AI, we're going to need that more and more.
Indeed. Indeed. There's a podcast I listened to, and there was a psychologist on with this friend of mine does the podcast, and the psychologist was talking about how since the onset of iPhones, and everybody's walking around with a little computer in their back pocket, we have drifted further and further away from being able to really connect with people. And so while folks will say, oh, I'm on social media, truly, how much of social media is the real world? And because you've got people who everything's rosy, and you've got people who everything's doom and gloom. And it's just interesting how these different facades carry throughout the different social media. And if I'm on Instagram versus Facebook versus LinkedIn, which Polly should show up, right? And that's one of the things. I'm always just who I am, but that's not normal. People, right. And you know this, you've met me in different circumstances, and hopefully I'm the same person when you're at my home versus when but that's not normal. And I didn't realize that. But how do you help people find that inner beauty and help them, whether it's how do you make in the photography their essence shine, or how do you help people find the essence of their business and bring that out?
The interesting thing is, no matter what, you have to feel safe in your own body to be able to do things like be creative and play. Because without feeling safe in your body, you're going to constantly be looking for that person that is going to put you down, is going to make you feel bad about yourself. You're going to be looking on the outside all the time for your validation. So the first thing we have to do is work on that. Now, this will look different depending on what I'm doing with you. So if I am doing a photography session, like, one of the first things we're going to do is I'm going to go to your closet and I'm going to look through your clothes, and I'm going to talk about talk about your personality and your energy type, and like really get to know you. And most of my clients, they're just shocked at how much I can pick up on who they are by looking in their closet. And it's like, what, are you reading my diary? No. And sometimes what I'm doing is just coming in and clarifying. I tell people my job is to be a loving mirror. So when I am showing you, hey, this is a style that I think is your style, it's not because I'm thinking to myself, she's going to look really good in this and be able to make lots of money because she wears a certain outfit. I'm going to be thinking, no, if she wears this outfit, will look like it grew on her. It will look completely at home on her. So she will be able to embody her own essence, feel safe, and then be able to show everyone who she is naturally. And so
Love
that's
that.
my goal. That's my goal, whether I'm like styling you or for doing photography with you or helping you with a business brand is going to look a little bit different. But actually, I still do that energetic typing thing for every business owner because I like to see their closet because it really says a lot about the kind of business owner they are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes a lot of these brands now, they need to be about the owner of the company because I think more and more people are starting to realize that a faceless brand doesn't really go very far now because we're thinking that could be AI. That's just a family that just a random family that is off the I don't know, off the internet somewhere, off of Google. And
Yep.
when we actually show real people recognize it. Like you're going to go, "Oh, I want to buy soap from that girl, not just because she has really nice soap. I want to buy soap from that girl because she's raising a family in a certain way that I'm really excited about and I want to help her with her future." And it's
And she's a really amazing person that I'll have on a show later. So, because I
yes,
know.
I just had to I was thinking, who have I been helping lately? And my friend Sativa, she makes goat soap and she's got 2 little kiddos. And so I've been helping her with her brand. I've been helping her style herself. And it's been so much fun
And
because
she's such a neat person.
she's gorgeous. She could wear anything and it's going to look nice on her, but when you really recognize what makes someone feel at home,
Mm-hmm.
then you can start duplicating that look, sound, and feel everywhere. And then it looks consistent. It's not like you're like, wait, one day she's like a biker chick and the next day she's a fairy. I don't understand. Want to make it cohesive for online consumption because that is the truth of online consumption. You need to be able to make friends with someone. And when you see things that are so randomly different, sometimes that can actually confuse people and it can put them off. So it's better in any friendship to grow slow.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and not just overwhelm someone with a million different versions of you because we all have that. We all have all these different things going on.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. You've said it twice now. So I'm going to ask you, what is an energetic style and how do you do that?
Okay, so there is a woman who is far more, she's basically the mother of this. Her name is Carol Tuttle, and she has a company called Dressing Your Truth. And I don't work for her. I sometimes people will go sign up under her and I'll make a little money that way. But I just took what she teaches about clothing and I've applied it to brand. It's worked really well. And she actually uses this, she focuses on clothing and she focuses on child rearing and she uses the energy types for that. But there's 4 energy types. There is everyone knows about these personality typings, right? So it's similar. There's a fun type, a sensitive type, a what is it called? It's not aggressive, but it's now I don't remember the word. And then there's
Like
it's
assertive?
yeah, it's more of like an assertive type, and then there is the analytical type. And you notice that kind of sounds a lot like the old ones that were like phlegmatic and choleric and melancholy. It sounds a lot like that. It goes a little bit deeper, and what she actually does is she correlates it to shades of color, which is what makes it really interesting. And also shapes. But I would encourage if anybody's interested in learning more about that, you can go to dressingyourtruth.com and there is a little survey you fill out and it's free. It's totally free. And then you can learn a little bit more about it. And if you have questions about it, because it gets deeper than that the farther you go in, absolutely feel free to reach out to me because I love helping people find their energetic type. And I always tell people this is a tool. It doesn't mean that you're wrong to wear anything else. What it means is once you understand your energy and the colors that look best on you, when you break rules, you'll know it. And you can do that consciously instead of unconsciously.
So purposefully, I'm going to purposefully shake things up. All right. So if I were to say, what's my energetic style? What would your guess be?
I'm guessing you're the same as me, but you could be the fun type. You could be. I'm guessing you look better in jewel tones.
Yes.
You're wearing jewel tones right now.
Yes.
So I'm guessing is your first would be the type 3 assertive type. I'm just going to say assertive because I cannot remember the name of it all of a sudden, even though it's my type too. I think your dominant type is that. And then you have a secondary type of a type 1, which is the fun type. And the interesting thing is it's all about energy. And when I say energy, it's literally like how you move through the world. So type 3s are extremely like push through life. Like, I'm going to get that done. I'm going to get that done like right now. And fire is their element. They're just very fiery and they get so much done, but they often are not thinking about things like, is this comfortable? They're like, it doesn't matter if it's comfortable. This is what I'm supposed to do right now. I'm going to get it done. But your secondary being a 1, I'm guessing you're also like a really fun person to do like parties with, and to like, you probably have not just the push through energy, but you have a little bit of a bounce.
Indeed. And even when I'm pushing through, I'm bouncing. It's like Tigger.
Exactly. So you got a little bit of both. And the thing that's interesting when you get into it more, you start understanding like the color type that you should be wearing is the jewel tones, but there's a lot of shapes involved in the type 1 that you would probably enjoy too, which would be like, you'd probably enjoy fun patterns. Like you could every once in a while wear a shirt that just has a bunch of hearts on it, or even an emoji shirt or whatever, something that as long as it's the right tonality, it'll look good on you and you'll see the fire, but you'll also see the fun.
I love that. So it's a little feng shui too.
Yes. So it's not just, oh, you're stuck in this particular thing. It's just what is recommended is you stay within the color tonality, the palette. So the only color that generally type 3s they said stay away from if you can is the color black. But the reason why is because type 3s tend to actually have a lot more texture in their skin. So as you age, it might not be a big deal when you're young, but as you age, that darkness will just make those wrinkles,
lines deeper.
Yeah. So it's about light in that specific instance. And just in general, fire, they're the fire element. So they're going to look best when they're glowing.
I love that. That's wonderful. Very cool. All right. So the question would be then, what was your journey to get here?
Okay, depends on which way we're talking about. When it comes to the styling and things like that, my mom, she got me into that years ago and just told me, hey, this is something I think is cool. And I would study a little bit over the years. And finally, at a certain point, I realized my clients needed help with their wardrobe. And when I started applying these principles, they bought a lot every time.
Nice.
And it changed my business model because I knew that if I typed people correctly, they always bought the pictures from me. So when it comes to styling, there's that. I think you're also asking another question, and that is like, how have I gotten to where I am now, which is a little bit of a longer question. And so to set the stage a little bit, I grew up in Missouri and I was the oldest of 7 kids. My parents were extremely conservative. And I tell people it really was like growing up in a family cult because we didn't really have a church per se. My dad was always trying to start a church, but the way we grew up was just really super isolated. As I experienced that, there was a lot of putting myself, not, I was the good oldest daughter. Okay. So I was the good oldest daughter and I made everyone happy. And I knew that what my dad wanted most was to look a certain way to other people. And I knew how to help him cultivate that. And so I put all my energy into it, and I didn't get out until I was 23. And because my parents believed in courtship, and the man I married, what his parents were a part of the same denomination my dad was trying to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though he was way up in Minnesota and I was way down there in Missouri, we were match made and then started talking. And after a year, we got married. I had met him an equivalent of like 8 times, probably 2 months worth of time. And I made a lot of assumptions because I was told that you don't marry somebody because you fall in love, because feelings lie. The heart is deceitful above all things, and it was the woman that was deceived. So really, the parents need to be involved in the relationship, and they're the ones that like supposedly make these things all hunky-dory and great and wonderful. And when you have the desire, which my parents had, of more than anything, like the worst sin you could possibly commit was having sex before marriage or getting divorced. That's the way you nudge your children. And so I went ahead and did things like I was told, and I chose this relationship. I chose to love him. I'd never had one before. I didn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved up here and got pregnant a month after we got married, and knew no one. And when I say up here, Minnesota, I knew no one. I had no friends. I didn't have any family up here. I had to get a job for the first time. Like, it was intense. But because of how I was raised, I was told that when women, like, you're basically owned by your father. And when you get married, that ownership transfers over to your husband. And so when he says, no, I don't want you wearing that anymore. I want you to color your hair brown. I want you to get a job. I don't want you to wear skirts anymore. I think your butt looks better in pants. Like, all these things, which happen very quickly to me, you just take it because that's what a good wife is supposed to do.
And that is, you posted on Facebook in a group we're in. I don't remember which century, but not this century. Like how, and what you're describing is like women's coming through the ages. And it really describes, I know my mom and dad got married. They were married for 3-4 months. Mom went in to be put on birth control and found out she was pregnant with me. And she wanted an abortion. And the doctor said, you're married. And mom says, yeah, but abortions are legal. And the doctor said, but there are certain circumstances. And because you're married, your husband has to agree to it. So you go home, and if he agrees to it, then we'll consider it. Mm-hmm. And mom went home and told dad she was pregnant with me. And dad was all excited, went out and bought a football and a race car set and a train track. And I was born because this is before. And his mom was devastated because she couldn't even do that right. She gave him a girl instead of a boy, and he wanted a boy. And my dad said, it's okay. We'll put ruffles on her butt and throw footballs, and she'll be a quarterback. That's just fine. And in the 60s, girls still wore a lot of dresses. And I was a little one with ruffles on my butt with the dresses and playing all the boy cars and everything. And the really cute thing is I have a daughter who's also like that. When she was little, she always played with the boys' toys and the girl toys. And now I've got a granddaughter. And last weekend when she was here, she was playing with her brother's trucks and blocks and all the things. And so it doesn't matter. But the attitude around women and their bodies has, I think, changed quite a bit, but it's taken so long. And there are pockets of the world and pockets in the States even, and depending on your background, your culture, women still don't have the rights globally that are consistent.
No,
right?
oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that I've even been understanding now, here I'm 40 years old, and it's been almost 20 years since I left my parents' home. So you'd think by now I would be over all of that. And the fact of the matter is, some of this stuff, like, it really stays with you. It really affects you. I remember I had a memory come to me the other day of being probably about 6 years old and my dad going hunting, and I wanted to go hunting with him. I just thought that would be so fun, and I had a little brother who was, like, 2 or 3 at the time, and he was like, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna take you, I'm gonna take him." And I was like, "Why would you? He's a baby. He'll in a couple more years, I'll take him, but I'm not gonna take you. You're a girl, that's not your job." And I
Mm.
remember my parents saying things to me like I was interested in gymnastics, and I was like, "I wanna be a gymnast, that sounds, like, so fun." And my mom was like, "Gymnasts have a lot of trouble having children because of what it does to their body, so, we're not gonna do that." And
Mm.
it's just so interesting, like, that old way of thinking, like,
Yeah.
how much it influenced really small things. So, there's a lot of sadness in female lineage over
Yeah.
things.
Okay, so now I'm curious. Were your parents raised the way they raised you?
No.
Okay.
They
Interesting.
college. They got involved in something it was probably a cult. They got involved in something that was they put them in a direction of ministry, but I don't know what it was. I honestly I don't know what it was that put my dad so much in that direction, but I recognize that he had a traumatic event when he was 13. He was remember back when the phones, you could pick up a phone and you could hear what someone else was saying across the house? Well, he
Yeah.
was 13 years old and he picked up the phone and his dad was talking to some other woman on the phone. Come to find out, it his dad was having an affair with his Boy Scout leader's wife.
Gosh.
And it just really hurt him, and he blamed a lot of it on my grandmother. Instead of blaming it on my grandfather, he blamed it on my grandmother. And I just think he had a very twisted understanding of women, and he didn't have any sisters either.
Mm.
I think that's where that comes from. But there is a whole culture of Christian conservative men that think like this. And this is not an old way of thinking. This is a current way of thinking.
Mm.
Um, and I can tell you that in the effort to protect their daughters, they set their daughters up for abuse that they have no idea of. They have
Mm.
no understanding because most of these guys, they aren't going to themselves like do something physically abusive to their daughters. But when you use something like put your daughter in a position where she never learns like really physical boundaries. She never really learns emotional boundaries. She's told that she has to basically be fluid for whoever owns her. You're setting her up for abuse.
Completely. No boundaries, right? Learning how to have healthy boundaries is really important. And I would, even if you were raised in a loving, nurturing family environment, I don't think a lot of parents actually teach their kids because they don't know how to create healthy boundaries.
If you think that your happiness will come from making everyone else happy,
Mm.
it's really hard to set up good boundaries. And
That's
there's
right.
certain things. By the way, I'm not against Christianity. I do not consider myself a Christian, but
Mhm.
I actually have a lot of respect for Christians. This is not to put it down, but there is something about Christianity that makes you really vulnerable to this because if you believe that you came into the world as a rotten, stinking, awful being, then you're like, whatever I need to do to fix that. And for women specifically in a lot of these Christian groups, the weight is put on submit to your husband.
Mhm.
If you submit to your husband, you will be protected from the devil. And that's how we create security. That is their security. And it does not create safety in your body. It does not create body autonomy. It doesn't create any of these things that are really necessary to be a good friend to yourself and a good protector for not only yourself, but for your husband and your children, because you're not recognizing what's actually the problem. The problem isn't that you're a dirty, awful sinner. The problem is that there are people out there who will take advantage of you, and you need to have boundaries. By having boundaries, you can actually have fairly good relationships with even pretty toxic people.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and very consciously knowing what you will accept and how you will handle circumstances if it's beyond your exception criteria. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, how did you move out of that? Because you're far from there now.
I am. So I was married for about 8 years, and I'll tell you, I had a really hard time making friends when I moved here. I talked to my then husband about it, and I was like, I don't understand. I'm doing all the things. I'm really trying. And he goes, "Oh, in 5 years, you'll have friends." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "That's just the way Minnesota is." And I was shocked and appalled. We were living in a apartment at the time, and I figured if we could just get into a house, maybe things could change. Maybe I could meet people while I'm taking the kids to the park and things like that. So we moved into a townhome, and I decided that I was going to put together community events. So I just started having picnics, and I would invite all my neighbors. And not everybody would come, most people didn't, but there were a lot of people who started to notice what I was doing. And when they noticed, they came to me and they said, "Elizabeth, we think actually there's a little bit more to the story." But essentially, I was asked to be run for city council in my city. And I tell people it was not winning against a 20-year incumbent that like completely changed my life. It was that there was a bunch of people who identified my talents and my gifts and said, "We want you. And please come and work in the city." And when I got on there, one of the things that was just mind blowing to me, it was my first time I had ever experienced being around men who talked about their wives with such esteem. Like the mayor being like, "Oh, yeah, you think I'm great? You should meet my wife." Saying things like that. That was different. And then there were men and women there, but everyone there recognized me as having really good ideas and having good input. And they respected me and honored me. And that was new too. So I gotta say, that was one of the biggest motivators for me to start shifting and changing. And some of those shifts and changes were not comfortable to my husband. The other piece was that let's see, it was before I ran for office, my brother committed suicide and he was 21 years old.
Right.
And that really rocked my world. And I've told you a little bit about this before, but when that happened, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, he didn't understand his value.
Yeah.
And then the next thing that came to my mind was, do I understand my value? Because I never want to be in that position.
Mhm.
And it was just blew my family apart. It completely blew us apart. And we were already having a rough time as it was. Everybody was going all different directions as people got older and they wanted to, I'm old enough, scatter, get away, get away from parents, figure out who you are on your own. Because we all had to figure it out. We didn't know when we left our parents' home who we were. We had to leave to figure it out. But that particularly really set us all on a path of not only trying to understand our own value, but listening to our own intuition, like I talked about in the beginning, and recognizing that when you don't feel okay and when you are not happy, it's important to notice it and it's important to talk about it and get help because I've made peace with my brother's death, and I honestly think that I think that his life was a monumental help to the, I almost would say, ascension of the rest of my siblings. Like all of us we had a spiritual journey that really took off after that because we just went so focused within and
Mhm.
trying to connect with who is God? What is source? Am I loved? Like all those questions. Yeah, it's made me very sensitive to people who are in those negative spaces. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping people who are in similar positions.
Very cool. And so that kind of brings us to today. So you have your own little tribe of children that are just adorable, and you have a husband that you love dearly. And how have you created this? Because you've got a blending of families, right? Your children from a couple of different places, and then you've created this new world. How has that been for you?
It's very, I'll say, the blending has been like I had my first four, and then I got with my husband now, and we had
Mhm.
three more. And it was really important to him that he have biological children. So he
Mhm.
doesn't have any of his own. And we had a conversation before. He's like, I really like you. I would love to be with you, but I cannot like, and this is where boundaries come in too, right? And I love that we have such a uh, very clear communication in our relationship because he said up front, I have to have kids. So I told him I'd give him more than one, and I got pregnant before we were married because his experience before was having someone that did everything she could to not get pregnant, even though she had said she would. And
Oh.
I knew it was me going on a limb, but I knew that we'd be good if I just had to put a little bit of faith in the
Mhm.
process, get pregnant
Mhm.
first. So we've had that's a really good example, I think, of the whole living from intuition because the rest of society would tell you that is really stupid. And it could have been really stupid. I'm not even telling, like, it could have been bad. I
Mhm.
was a single mom with four kids, but I knew that he was the person I was supposed to be with. And I was sure that if we had a child together, that it would be everything that he needed to know that I was on his team. That's a fun little story on how this kind of works out in real life. But I think that when we are doing things like raising children, chasing dreams, like having businesses and all these things, like the first thing you have to do is like figure out what do you really want.
Mm. Yeah.
And in this particular case, like I had to do a little negotiating. I didn't know if that was really what I wanted. I didn't know. I was like, if I marry him and have more children with him, am I going to resent him one day because I
Mm.
had more kids? And
Mhm.
so I had a moment where I had to go within and sit with it and recognize, is this something I'm going to be okay with? And when I made those decisions, I did them knowing that I was doing it with integrity.
Which is huge.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you had talked a little bit in the beginning about that inner happiness and that finding what's your I'm going to call it, it's like your compass, your inner compass. Your how do you know that you're happy? And you talked about being your own best friend. How do you help people figure out, am I happy or am I just going through the motions, or am I happy but I don't want to be because I thrive on drama and so I can't see it, right? There's so many flavors that it's like, how do you help people see happiness and what it is for them?
Truly, I think that the best way to help other people is to do what you need to do for yourself because you are an example to people and how you live and how you make your decisions. when you're living from an authentic place where you have integrity and you can when you have integrity with yourself, you don't worry so much about what everybody thinks because it's just you and you're just doing your thing, just like you do, Polly.
Mhm.
It's just a part of your everyday, right? So people like you and I and other people who've been able to make peace with the fact that we're not perfect and that's okay. We're the encouragers. We're the people that's standing out there showing everybody, hey guys, you can breathe. You can take a deep breath right now. It's okay. You do not have to do all the things that the world is telling you to do. You don't. You can say no. And
Or
or you can say
or or you could say yes, because you could have a real I was just thinking about that. I was thinking to myself, I can't tell you how many times people have said, what made you think you could do that? And my response is, what would make you think I can't?
isn't that true? It's so true. And I love, man, the there are friends that I have that will encourage me so much just by being themselves. They do not have to pontificate or give me all the answers because the fact of the matter is there is no right answer for many questions.
That's right.
It depends. It depends. And when I get a call from one of those friends and I'm hearing how they're living their best life, like you talk about, that is one of the things that really encourages me. So that's what I do for others. And when you've come to some of my women's empowerment circles, that's what that's supposed to be about. The women's empowerment circles that I host are all about women coming together in friendship and learning to connect with each other in ways that they can share their passion, they can share what makes them happy, they can remember, oh, like in the face of depression, in the face of struggle, they have people to look to who are they keep going and they don't give up. This life is not easy. There is nothing about this is easy, and some of it is about endurance. It's literally about how long can you live, because
Mhm.
the fact of the matter is it's really rough right now, but give it 5 years. Give it 5 years. You could be a millionaire in 5 years. You don't know. You
That's
don't
right.
know. And to judge your future by looking to your past, it is not helpful.
No. Use it as a guidepost instead of a hitching post, is one of the quotes.
Absolutely.
And as a kid, my dad used to always say, live every day as if it's your last.
Mhm.
And he was taken from us, freak accident, 54 years old. And I literally remind myself every birthday how many years older I am now than he was then. And it's really crazy, but I have always lived with passion. And if I want to do it, if I feel like it's something that's good and has is going to help many, it doesn't matter if I've done it before or not. It's that positive intention, and it's that internal, like you said, like that gut feeling of I'm supposed to do this. Maybe it's a new thing I'm learning, and once I learn it, then I can help others as well. So it's fun, and you never know where your path could lead you. But if you continue to live as if you've always lived, you're not going to go any place other than where you've already been.
Absolutely. And I know I talked a little bit about spirituality, but I think maybe I should lean in a little bit more on it. If somebody wants to know God, the way you know God, it's through that intuitive voice.
That's right.
And if you are not listening to that, you are lost. You are
Mhm.
just lost. You are disconnected from source. You are not able to get help. You're not able to get guidance. You're going to look for your guidance in people who will use you and who will hurt you, and people that, and it won't even be on purpose. It'll just be because you are listening to them and you're not listening to your personal connection to source.
And I think that's an interesting topic we're not going to get into today, but perhaps we'll have another conversation because, in fact, we could have a whole group of folks get together to talk about. But the reason I don't want to get into it right now is because there's so many directions you can take it.
Yes.
What I do want to say though, because the 13-year-old we were talking about, when your dad heard that phone call, he was on the cusp between modeling and relationship years. And so from 0 to 6, imprint years, from about 6, 7 until about 13, 14, modeling years, and then from about 14 to 21-ish, relationship years. And so all of a sudden he's hearing this thing. It doesn't align with the model he's been seeing. Now he's formulated how relationships ought to be based on a warped perspective and a snapshot in time.
Yes.
And we don't realize how much we live our lives based on circumstances like that, because those snapshots are captured in our subconscious, and then they present themselves in a variety of ways throughout our lives to bring to light that opportunity. Does this feel right for me or not? And that's that alignment piece you're talking about, and how to get that alignment. When people have, parents will tell kids, oh, you didn't hear that, or you didn't, or don't listen, whatever, right? People shut down because it's not, years ago, it wasn't acceptable. Now, much more accepted, but you're still in that divide of, what if people think I'm weird? And there's still that fear factor piece. And I just love that so many more children are being taught how to listen to and trust themselves as they're growing through the different phases of life, so that when they get to be in their teens, 20s, 30s, they have that connection and that inner compass and that alignment, rather than spinning out of control because I'm trying to make this other person happy living the way they wanted me to, instead of living their authentic selves.
Absolutely.
That authentic reflection, right?
Yes. There are so many ways you could go with these topics, and I would be so curious what your listeners would be interested in the future, because I know you have a great show and it's really fun to listen to you. If anything comes up from this conversation, let me know when you talk more about it, because I want to hear.
Perfect. Perfect. I will. Very cool. All right. Last question. Ready? If you were able to go back in time and have a conversation with that younger Elizabeth, let's just pretend that she is in the elementary, middle age, or middle school age, what words of wisdom would you give her?
Ooh, by the time I was 11, I think I was starting to feel the weight of what my life was like and how isolated I was. And I did a lot of really great things to put relationships in my life that I wouldn't otherwise have had. So I was writing people at a very young age all over the country, and I was doing these things actively to create socialization, which I desperately wanted and desperately needed. And I think the thing, as I'm looking back at that age, I would have been, I was just really trying to be a good kid. I was trying so hard. And I looked at my parents like they had it figured out. I thought that stuff that they said was just going to send me off on a wonderful path, and all the things that my dad did were going to protect me from anything bad ever happening to me. But the weight that was put on me at that age was, you're the oldest and you're responsible for all these kids, and you're responsible for the house running well, and you're responsible, like way more responsibility than most people get. And I experienced a lot of judgment. So I wish I could just give her a hug and just be like, it's okay to be you. It's totally okay to be you.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know who I was, so that's hard to say exactly. But when you're a kid, especially when you haven't hit puberty yet, like there's still those things, those markers of things that fill you with joy, and you have a lot of excitement for the future. So I just feel like it's only a matter of time. You're going to go through a really rough time when you're going to be really restricted, but just hang in there because you will have freedom. And interestingly enough, we
Yes.
haven't talked not astrology, but if you look at my astrology chart, it's there. It shows all of that. It shows in my first years that I would be restricted and that I would find more and more freedom as I got older. So it's only now, like in my 40s, that I'm like, I just had my last baby. I've had 7 kids, just my last baby. And I'm starting to look at life like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because I'm not going to have to do all the things I have done for 40 years. I still have children to raise, but it's not very much longer before I'm going to have a level of freedom that I've literally never had before. So
watch out, world.
yeah, it's that endurance thing. Sometimes you just have to get through it and make the most of it. And it's okay because you're going to learn things and you're going to draw things from it. Like now, basically everything I do is around these lessons and I'm helping other people.
Love it. And the restriction just brings to mind like a cocoon, right? And the butterfly is a gooey mess, then starts to form, then has to work its wings to break out of that shell. And that's what you're doing, is you're starting to work those muscles and find your passion so that you'll just fly and bring all that beauty to the world.
Yes.
I love
And
that.
as an addendum, one other piece to this that I didn't mention before that I probably should is part of my metamorphosis, if you will, included a forgiveness ritual where I fully forgave my parents for the things that I went through. And I mention that because I think one of the things that a lot of people are having trouble with is actualizing into adulthood and really embodying their own sovereignty as an adult. I don't believe that I really experienced that until I was 30. And that is a really big part of that process. So if anybody's watching this who's going, I don't know what it is, I just haven't gotten to that level yet where I feel like confident and safe in my body and I feel confident the way Elizabeth is or the way Polly is. If there is anything in you right now that is holding you in a victim pattern, in a victim, that might be something to look at. Because as soon as you get out of that way of thinking about yourself, it's much more easy to embody a healthy confidence.
Yes, indeed. Awesome. I think that's a perfect place to wrap our conversation today.
Thank you, Polly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing and for being an inspiration to so many. And if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Elizabeth, ELIZABETH, at yourauthenticreflections.com. Exactly as it is spelled, like it sounds as it's spelled. You have a website, yourauthenticreflections.com. And if anyone is watching this who lives in the Crystal, New Hope area or anywhere close to that, go to my website and check out the link for my women's circle because I do that once a month. And it's a really great way for people to come together and encouragement, just like we're doing here.
Indeed. And I'm thinking that you're going to have a digital version to empower even more people and bring them together coming in the future.
We need to talk about that. That's a good idea. I like that idea.
Awesome. Thank you so much, dear. And I will have how people can get a hold of you in the show notes. So don't worry about spelling it because we'll just have a link there for you.
Absolutely.
And I will see you soon. And listeners, if you've enjoyed this conversation, please like it. Please subscribe so that this show shows up in your inbox every week. And please share it with someone that you'd like to brighten their world, give them a little inspiration, and help them live into their best lives. So until next time, remember to live every day with full passion and enjoy the journey as you live into your best life.
Thank you for listening to Polyskaya, your show host for Live Into Your Best Life. Check out the show notes and visit her at polyskaya.com to learn more and continue your journey. Until next week, enjoy the adventure.